The app. We're officially here.
Morning,
Had to get last minute coffee fill-ins and everything else.
And I had the best cat mom. Yeah, so we should just plan on 10:03 every Wednesday instead of 10 o'clock. Break the mold. We'll just plan on 10:03.
And if we show up by 10, then we're early.
It'll be our ego boost for the week.
That's right. That's right. Hello, Amy, and everybody coming in and joining. I'm staying warm because I'm in the apartment. I'm not outside and whatever that is yet. Kayla, what's it like temperature-wise up there by you right now? You got to be cold.
I don't even know the actual temperature today. So over the weekend, though, I was in what we call Southern Tier, so down in the country area. I'm just pulling up my weather now to see what it actually is out because it's really cold out there when I went outside in my pajamas this morning. But it's 28 degrees right now.
Oh, you're pretty close. We're pretty close.
You'll feel 20. So yeah, so it's not horrible. But we have snow up to our knees down at our camp. Here, there's only like 3 inches, so it's not too bad. But down at our camp, the up to the knees thing is kind of crap.
So I'm just going to throw this out there. It's currently 44 in Tucson. Just saying.
Blah, blah, blah.
With a high of 63. Can't wait. Hey, Chris. So we were going to finally get around to the topic that we were kind of going to do last week, but then it was Thanksgiving and things came up, talking about investigation teams, what to look for, what to avoid, be it joining one or having one come out to your home to do, some investigative work. And I feel like, Kayla, this is way more your topic because you've kind of been around some teams and you've watched drama from the outside. You've had drama try to suck you in.
And here I am, very far outside of it.
Unfortunately, Heather can't join us. She's, 'tis the season and everybody's working extra because she's also been on teams and can,
she actually ran a team for a while. So
yeah,
her husband. So, and they were my favorite Ohio team. So, to this date anyway. So one of my big things is I'm not a showy person with any of my work. There's people that like to be very public and very boisterous about what they do. So that's something you got to take into consideration. If you are somebody that wants to be on TV, you're hoping your case gets publicized, you want all the glitz, the glam, the camera crews, the equipment, there's going to be 2 different things than contacting somebody like me or like what Heather would do, what you do, right, Melissa? You reach out to us, you're getting a private service. You're not getting, unless, we reach out to like each other or somebody that we're close with, like, hey, want to come help me on this case. You're not going to get all this equipment. You're not going to get cameras and Facebook live feeds and those kind of things. It's just not what we do. So your first thing is definitely going to be deciding what is it do you want? Do you want a whole team of people in your house going through everything that you own? Or do you want somebody to come in privately and work with you individually, work with your family members individually, that kind of thing?
Now, when you go into a house for a private, the homeowners, the people that live there, they're there with you, maybe sitting quietly while you're kind of going through, but you don't get free reign unaccompanied, right? Is that what you do?
It really depends on the household. Some people don't want to be there. Some people are like, just come in and do your thing, which honestly is kind of nice because you're not picking up everybody else's energy. I can separate completely. It's less work to separate what they have going on versus what the house or the land has going on. That way, like less interference. And sometimes when you get tuned into things, it's really hard when somebody comes up and asks you like 10 questions or even 3 questions because you're like so tuned into what's coming from where, what's going on, what's good, what's bad. And so sometimes it's really hard when people want to talk to you. So sometimes I do ask them to just sit and stay somewhere else. Sometimes it's beneficial to have pets out, but there are a lot of times people like just go through whatever, as long as you can help, just go through whatever. That being said, I shouldn't say a lot of mediums. Quite a few mediums are also really good at remote viewing. So sometimes we don't really even have to go through the whole house. We can do it remotely from anywhere in the world, or even just sitting in one room in your house, we can kind of start to go through and feel what different floors feel like, what's going on in different areas of the home. So it's all going to come down to how each team works, how your medium works, and what you actually want and want to get out of it. If you're really interested in crossing over spirits that want the help, or you want to shut off portals, if you want to, whatever your situation is, some paranormal teams are not going to come in and help spirits cross over. They're going to come in and tell you what's going on. They're going to come in and get evidence, but they're not necessarily going to help you. They might have a medium that comes with them to help do that, or a spiritual advisor that helps them come do that. So it really depends. The big thing is going to be deciding what you want, what your goal is. If you want to help the spirits, if you want entertainment, if you just want to know what they're doing and you want to keep them as little ghosty pets. I mean, we can't alter your what you want out of that. I can give you guidance and say, this is definitely what I would do in this situation. But a lot of paranormal teams will not actually help you cross them over, will not, help clear the spaces, that kind of thing. They are strictly there for evidence-based things.
So Amy says, I hate it when they need to have all the equipment, say they're alone, yet someone is recording it, and then they try to provoke the ghost. That seems to be more of a TV thing, right? The go in, be dramatic, provoke, roid rage at the ghosts.
I've also had some groups who were trying to get to that point, right? We're trying to get their name out there more. And they would run spirit pumps in the background, be like, we're here, it's just the three of us. And, we're in the middle of nowhere. And in the background, they're running spirit pumps to try to amplify what's going on in location. And they have people over in the corner trying to draw other spirits in. And, and then there's people like me and you who just naturally protect so much that it pushes things away. So some teams don't like that either. When you're overprotected, or you can help spirits move along to where they want to be, some teams really do not appreciate that.
And Melanie asks, isn't that a major no-no to provoke?
Yeah, it's definitely a code of ethics thing. But just like everyday life and other situations, people don't always abide by that or don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely teams that will come in and provoke. There's definitely situations that they'll provoke. I feel like almost everybody I've worked with says they don't. And then, when it's behind the scenes, there's some of that going on to build that up for filming or for capturing their own evidence to put online, that kind of stuff. So things to just be aware of. I've definitely worked with groups that will no longer talk to me, and I'm fine with that because I would not like to talk to them either, who have done those things. They have me come in to help clear a space. They have me come in as a medium to not just collect the evidence, but to also communicate further with spirit, pick up things that they're not going to pick up with technology, and then get really upset when somebody's like, you can't just do that. No, we need to cross the spirit over. And when they're not getting their way, when they're not getting to build up the evidence that they want, it becomes an issue. And I do not waver on my on where I stand on my, code of ethics for things. So it really comes down to what you're going to want.
How would somebody, what would be some good questions for somebody to ask? They're considering bringing in a team into their house to figure out what's going on. What should they be asking the team to kind of really get down if they should bring them in or not?
I would definitely ask who they work with, what they work with. So are you working with a medium or a spiritual advisor? If something does have to be removed or helped in some sort of way, whether it's your space or releasing a spirit, the family involved, ask them what the modality of work is that this person's going to provide. So, okay, if you're a paranormal team and you're going to collect the evidence and you're going to go over this case and we're going to do this, but who's going to actually resolve the issue for me or help resolve what's going on with the house, or who's going to help the issues that we're having as physical humans? Really ask more about that information and ask to talk to that person. I never mind at all if I get called to work with a team for something or from another medium and they say, can a client reach out to you? In fact, I usually say, please feel free to have them reach out to me to discuss this with me themselves. I'd rather talk to the person and not have things get misconstrued in the conversation with people in the middle. So I would say that's definitely something to ask, would be, who your spiritual person is or your medium, and can I talk with them directly to get a feel for this? So some of the other things I would definitely say, again, comes down to what you really want. If you want this to be more of a private thing, we run into this every episode we do. Things are so different based on what the individual situation is. So, I mean, it's going to come down to, do you have things going on with like realms and dimensions and entities, or do you have things going on with human past spirits or even past loved ones? Do you have something going on with the land? Do you have something going on with ley lines? So it's really going to depend on that, because there's going to be things that paranormal teams aren't going to pick up. You know, they're not necessarily going to know about ley lines. They're not necessarily going to know. I mean, usually they have a historian and a researcher that's going to look up the history of the area, look up, you know, if there's burial grounds, war history, that kind of stuff. So that would be something definitely to ask. Like, do you have a historian? Do you have somebody that does research for you? Or are you just coming in kind of for fun? Ask what they specialize in. Like, are you willing to work with spirits? Do you just work with entities? You really want to know how they work and why they're doing those things. And they might not have great answers for you until they're in the location. It's like a lot of my answers at times about spirit things are like, well, until we tap in individually, we can only give you this blanket answer. I would also recommend talking to different people on the team if they let you. Again, they might just keep their team private and you just only get to work with one head person who sets stuff up. But I've definitely run into situations where there was conflict with people on the teams, because even though the leader or the owner of the team would have a certain goal in mind or certain methods that they use, doesn't always mean their team is going to do that thing. So there's so much that goes into it. And I wish we had an example to like what we were going to use for like a case sort of thing. Because it would be easier to vet a team with that. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the comments here. Okay, so Amy asked, oh, hi. There's a few highs I didn't do here. Okay, so Amy asked, how do you see if anyone has died in your house? So as a medium or an intuitive, it just kind of happens. I see them like, oh, somebody just walked in my door, basically, only they don't usually ever use doors. But usually I just see them like outright clear, or I can just sense that they are there. As far as a normal person that's not tapped into their intuition or doesn't want to address mediumship and intuition, there's times, so people have physical symptoms if there's spirits in their house sometimes. People notice things moved around. Let's see, what are some of the other things? There's like people who have like brain fog type things, headaches. Just because you're hearing things or things are moving isn't always a sign that a spirit is there. So that's another good point. It's always good to have somebody who's willing to debunk things that are going on. When, is your furnace triggering things? Is the EMFs coming from your fuse box in your house? Is it coming from certain other parts? Is there parts of your house that just have more EMF pumping out of them? Because you have like a whole computer room and gaming room and these kind of things. So there's going to be a lot of different things. The drafts there was a case that we worked on that they kept saying their one room was really drafty, and it was because there was like no insulation in one section of an old wall, and there was just air blowing in through the socket in the wall, but nobody bothered to move furniture to look at it. So it just felt like it was being more diffused going around this dresser than it really was. And we had this whole story about a person that was hanged in there and that kind of thing, which really didn't show up mediumistically or with the team that I was with. So I definitely ask if are they just going to come in to focus on spirits, or are they going to go through and try to debunk things too? Things like drawers, like, oh, I have this drawer that always tips to one side. Well, okay, are the brackets for it sturdy, or does it get to a certain point and that's when it tips or gets hung up, that kind of thing. So in that sense, yeah, we are going to be going through your house if we're going to debunk things. If there are things you really don't want us to see, you should probably put them away and say, don't go into this room, or don't, open this, because there's cats. Remember was it last week, 2 weeks ago, we talked about pets and cats and dogs, and cats tend to like to hide in closets and want their little boxes in closets when there's spirits around. It just is a thing that I've noticed. So, if we're trying to figure out what's chasing your cat into the closet, we're probably going to want to go into your closet or clear the area that your cat used to release his energy, her energy from that space, so that they feel more comfortable going back into there again. So I would ask also what methods they use for clearing a space or medium's going to do, because I work as a healer. I work with a lot of people with sensitivities and allergies. So I have to be very careful about if I'm burning things, using sprays, different things. There's ways to do it without using any of that, for sure. So I would definitely ask what modalities they would use to clear and help release spirits also.
So I'm digging around online about how to find out if somebody's died in your house. You can contact like your local vital records office, property records. Some death certificates would have that. You can also contact,
Neighbors.
yeah, longtime neighbors who've been around will always tell you, especially if it's a smaller neighborhood. Historical societies sometimes will have that information. And then if you're like, you know what, I don't have time to do all of that, there is a website called diedinhouse.com. And like a basic search, everything costs on this website though. But the most simplest search is like $9. You put your address in and then you tell it to go do its thing. So, but if you're like me and you like free and you don't mind doing, rabbit hole research, get a hold of your historical society, get to know your neighbors, even if you don't want to be like, hey, anybody died in here? What happened to the person before me?
Well, what you keep in mind is it might not be your actual house, at your current house that you're living in. That's the problem. It can be a house that was there before, a building that was there before. It can be the land. So you might not find a record of somebody that died in your house. And years ago, they didn't always track the records of who died in that. Like if they died in the house or they had a funeral in the house, it didn't really matter. You might just find the town. So every case, I know it sounds vague, but every case is so diverse for things.
And for our friends who have been with me online for years for Wednesdays, and you remember the Marianne talks, 99% of the time, the person in your house is not somebody you know and not somebody who died there anyway.
Mm-hmm. They pass on through, and you just happen to be a pit stop.
Yeah, they were walking by and they were like, "Ooh, that looks interesting," and they come in for a visit and they don't leave.
Right, or they pass through in a couple days. So there's so many different things. My house, where I'm at, you've been to my house. Currently, there's power lines through my backyard in the development, further back behind my house, and so where I am, there's like my yard and then a really big field that now has power lines. That never used to be there. This all used to be farmland years ago, for many, many years, up until probably, I think about 60 years ago, maybe. It was major farmland, early civilization types, a lot of native territory here. When I first got my house, I every single night would hear screaming and running. Like it would sound like a whole family running upstairs. I do not have an upstairs. I have a single story home. I'd hear it all the time, and I'd wake up sweating like horribly. Well, come to find out, due to eminent domain, when they wanted to start changing the farmland around here, their house was burnt down. And so they lived on a farm, and they slept in the upstairs part of one of the buildings. And that was actually burnt down where the power lines now stand, which is in the area would have been like almost directly behind my backyard. So that's why I was hearing people running through the upstairs of my house that I do not have. And people that have stayed here have often heard it, but I've done some work over the years as far as releasing the family, because it's not fair for them to keep running from a fire every single night of their lives. So that was one of my very dear personal experiences for myself, of like releasing this whole family from reliving this fire every single night. But it made my house seem like it was haunted, but it was not actually my house. It was the land and the old farm that used to be here long before me.
So Christine's like, very good point with previous buildings on the property. That is the case with my home and the Amish man that hangs around my barns. And Chris, I still want you to get this man to talk and be like, so given your religious persuasions there, Amish guy, what do you think now that you're dead and hanging around? Like, let's talk. It's not even like me wanting to know to be snarky. Like, I just really want to know, like, what happens for these beings when like what they thought they knew is different, and like how do they come to terms with that?
It really does. I notice it a lot with different religions. I really do. But things like the culture part, like hey there. Like native cultures, right? Like their beliefs, it doesn't usually change when they pass. You can tell that they get upset when the land is messed with, that kind of thing. but religions definitely tend to so I'm not denominational, right? Like I'm spiritual. I work with kind of like anything. I work with what comes through for a case, highest best good, for a person's highest best good. I mean, we could be working with the Egyptian gods, we can be working with Jesus. We don't know, it depends on what's going on. And so that's definitely a thing where there's been cases that have had actual exorcists, exorcisms come do their thing. They, take care of that, and things get worse. So a lot of times that's when somebody like me gets called, is like, okay, this made this worse. Or they do something that, natives aren't going to agree with, or entities aren't going to agree with. It doesn't have to be necessarily a Catholic or Christian thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be that a priest came in. It can be just even spiritual people come in. There's Buddhists that will come through and do house clearings and blessings. I've had people that have had their houses go into a complete uproar after having the traveling Buddhists come through their house and do blessings for them, and end up with all sorts of crazy activity because it just upset how the land and the house already felt. So if something like that happens, it's not necessarily paranormal. You just crossed a boundary with something else, and it's okay to undo that.
Well, that would be a great thing, kind of getting back to the team's conversation. Like, one thing to ask them, like, if they have resources and connections to different religious people. If I decide to haunt a place and become pesky later, and the priest comes in and starts throwing holy water at me, I don't feel that
it wouldn't help either of us.
Like, ooh, you're right, let me go. I'd be like, quit throwing water at me, jerk. Like, stop. Right. So, do they have resources to different religious aspects, right? So somebody that could take care of a land spirit, somebody that could help cross over, like Chris's with the Amish guy, or to be able to talk and understand these beings and help them move along, versus here comes a Catholic exorcism and that's what everybody responds to. No. So that would be a very important thing to ask.
I've been called while these were on 2 investigations that were having an actual exorcism done live, like 2 different situations, 2 different years, all that. But this was called because while they were in the middle of doing the exorcism, things went really, really bad for the team, for the people, the house. So they actually called me to do remote work for those cases, just because they're like, how do we get this to settle down enough and not leave making things this much worse? And it's not necessarily going to be the team's fault. Like, people do what they know and what they feel is best. It's just not always necessarily going to be the best. And that's where an intuitive comes into play, is they can sense when the energy is starting to shift, when other people might not, and stop things before they get a bit dangerous, because they can get dangerous, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Chris was saying, so if they are earthbound, they still have the same beliefs. If they cross over, then they gain a new perspective on things because they have went through a life review. I see that. I just want to, because, I don't think Amish people believe in the afterlife as he is now experiencing it. But then again, I'm not an expert on the Amish lifestyle belief, and there's different types of Amish. So that's just where my curiosity is like, ooh, let's talk theology with the dead guy in the barn.
I mean, and sometimes being Amish or being any belief system can be part of your life lesson, your life path for a lifetime, right? So like me and you, because we're like tattooed, pierced, little crazy, like, we could come back as Amish someday. No, thank you. That could be like our punishment, to be like, here, you did all this, and this. Now you get to be Amish, or not to say Amish. It's just a punishment. But we're pretty much everything that they would not want in this lifetime, right? Like, pretty much everything against their belief system. And I even do photography on the side. So like, I'm all of the no things.
I refuse to come back to this planet, let alone back to this planet in Amish. Like, excuse the F out of me. I am not coming back. No.
So
no. Now, if somebody were thinking of joining a team, like they have an interest, maybe they've already bought a couple pieces of simple equipment, but they want to have a team to go out, so people who know what they're doing, so they can learn from, like, what should they look for? How do they even start finding teams? And where do you start if I want to join a group of people to go into spooky places?
Go meet them. Go to some of the events, see how they run their events, for starters. Because I worked with a few different local teams, right, before I really started doing things privately on my own. That's kind of, I do acknowledge that I did gain a lot of clients and publicity from some of the stuff that I was doing. I just realized it was not for me, not how I wanted to work. Go work with different teams, go meet different people. When you find ones that are like, oh, you shouldn't be working with them, and they start getting egotistical on you and they won't talk to you because you went and did another person's event, you're going to have a problem. Plain and simple. They might not get along. You might not agree with everything that they're going to do, but when they start trash talking other people, or they start treating you differently because you helped out a different team or you went to a different event, you're going to have a problem with them. So oops, something's popped on my screen. Sorry there. I can see
avoid the dramatics is what you're saying, for one.
Yeah.
And listen to what they're really saying.
As an independent, you have every right to go work with different teams. You can go to different events. You can go to different tours. You shouldn't have to join a cult to go do paranormal work. So if you want to be involved with them on that level, you are welcome to. But feel out who you're comfortable with. And if they're going to be judgmental on that and just be like, oh, well, you already started with this team, you're not welcome over here, that's not somewhere you want to be.
Yeah. So not only you're going to fit in. Yeah. So not only listen to like, oh, we have this person, this person, this person, we have room for you to come in. We'll teach you this, this, and this. Like, listen to the side conversations that they're having of if they're talking bad about somebody or someplace. It usually takes quite a bit and this is something that's kind of going on locally, and I'm just kind of sitting back watching and listening because I don't want that to come into my store. And if I have to cut people off, I sure as F will. But, for instance, if you hear about a team being cut off from a pretty well-known place and they're like, we no longer allow that team to come in, and this is the team you're kind of interviewing with, like, take note of that. What did they do? What did they not respect? Because most of these places, they want teams to pay to come in, because especially if they're older historic buildings, that's the money that pays for their rehab and their upkeep and everything else. So they're not really making hardly any money on these teams coming in. And if they're willing to cut off an avenue of revenue from a team, what did they do? So that's one thing to kind of pay real close attention to. Christine asked, Kayla, do you find that the thrill seeker type teams are less interested in having a medium work with them?
Yes and no. They like having a medium up to a certain point. So, they like being able to say they're working with medium and they have a medium on their team. They don't always want the medium to do their job. Or, so there's a location here, a really cool old hotel. And they were having a hard time getting spirit to act, like to do anything in this one room, but they knew that there was activity there just based on everything that would happen. Like they would lock up the building at the end of the night, come in the next morning, it looked like there was a party every single night. And I kept hearing certain songs while I was there. So this was like, I want to say 6-7 months after they started doing their investigations and running tours through there, everything else. I came in and as soon as I walked into that room, I heard certain music. I heard like Etta James, Howlin' Wolf, that kind of stuff. And hey, Seth, I don't know where my creature is.
He's being noisy. He wants pets.
He's a sweet boy. So when I asked them to start playing those songs, they did. So somebody pulled it up on their phone. We played some of those songs, and the whole room just got it like amplified. All the spirits started moving. You could see where they were dancing between the EMF detectors. It was really neat, a really cool experience. We started picking up EVPs. But after that, they're just like, well, that could have happened anyway. And there's all these things. It was just time. They just got more comfortable with us. So it's really such a diverse thing. They want mediums when they can't figure out what's going on. They want to be able to say they have a medium because it makes some people more comfortable. Like if I was called in by a team because a client said, do you have a medium working with you? But they might not use me. There's mediums that back down from that. I, however, hence me being on the far outside of everything, am very much, nope, I will come back in my own private time. I will stay here till you guys are on. It doesn't matter. Now that I know this is going on, I now take this personally, like as a personal case. But there's definitely situations before, I really started just not caring how I was affecting the teams, and I was caring more about people and their situations. That it was just like, well, yeah, we know this is on, but this isn't severe enough for the medium to do her work. And they would be speaking for the medium. And I know they did to some other people too. Oh, this isn't a case that she really needs to be here for, or he. So there's very different. If you feel unsettled, if you work with a team or something, if things get worse or better after a team and then things change, it's still okay to reach out to a medium privately. Just because you had a team come in, I've gone to houses that they've had 3, 4, 5 teams come in. One, because they were looking for more than was really there and going on, but 2, other situations where teams were coming in and not, one team finds out that there's cool evidence happening in this place, then they tell another team, and then they start reaching out to people. There's definitely teams that'll reach out to you and tell you they're going to come do all this work for free. I've learned to be very skeptical of anybody that's pushing anything for free. Just personal experiences from a lot of levels with that. Sorry.
That's a great thing that you just brought up. So there's been a debate sometimes, at least locally, of whether or not if you're coming in doing a private, should you charge or should you not? And I personally am like, that first time out, I wouldn't charge. But if I tell you what's going on and what needs to happen, if I got to come back out multiple times because 1, you're not following what you were told to do, 2, you're stirring it up and bringing yet more in, I'm going to start charging you now because that's my time, my gas, my energy, my supplies. So, Kayla, I don't know if you've got a different structure of how you worked when it comes for charging.
No, pretty much the same. So consultation wise, I usually just do it over the phone and kind of remote view anyway. Or sometimes I'll just have people send me a floor plan or a land layout, that kind of thing. We usually just do it over the phone for everybody's sake and time. But unfortunately, I've learned over the years that if people aren't paying for it, it doesn't matter whether it's paranormal work, healing work, house clearings, whatever, even just readings and giving them advice on what to do. If they are not paying for it, they are not going to respect it enough to follow through with it. Period. I've had people that I've known for pretty much my whole life that I, did free work for because I knew them so well. And they start listening, then they do everything the opposite. Or they're like, well, what if I do this instead? At one point, I actually had a friend who I threatened to charge her triple because I told her one thing. She went to another psychic, paid $2,000 for an hour appointment, and then called me to fix everything. And I was like, well, I think I should probably charge you $6,000 now. Now that I have to fix everything that I try to do for you for free, and you just made it worse. And the same thing happens with paranormal stuff. I had a client 2 years ago, maybe, that she paid this team to come from Kentucky. They originally told her they were coming for free. Then they said, well, this sounds like it's going to be more than a couple days, so you have to pay this much fee. Okay, fine. She did that. They took care of things. But then they said if she didn't pay a maintenance thing to have them come back every so often or to do the distance work, that it was just, there's all these stipulations. So yes, I did go charge her. I charged her my normal rates, which was far cheaper than the other team anyway. And things went really well until she decided to bring another team in because she wanted to test to make sure my work was good. So she called in another team. She learned a big difference between the family, learned a whole big difference of the difference in the type of work of just working with a medium and a spiritualist versus working with an entire team, because they drug in a whole bunch of things that weren't there before, that were gone, and things were calm and peaceful. The animals were happy. And she opened up, this whole can of worms. And I usually don't give up on clients. It takes a lot. I don't give up on people in general. And so over the course of, it would have been 2 years. So over the course of 2 years, I finally had to tell her, if this is what you're going to keep doing, I can no longer work with you. Because every time I would get things straightened back out for them individually, they wanted the attention of what else was going on. So they would call another team and then start all these problems all over again. So that is not fair to people like us that are investing our personal time to actually genuinely try to help you. We're not here for your entertainment. We're here to help. There's entertainment and then there's help. You have to decide what you want. So unfortunately, even though they were local and I wanted to help, especially because there was a few kids involved, I had to release the case because they were not going to do what they were supposed to do.
So Melanie asks, how do you know when to call in a medium to help figure out what is going on in your home versus calling a team?
I'm going to be a little biased because I am a medium. I work with mediums. It depends on how personal you want to be and how in depth you want to be with stuff. As a medium, I honestly don't do a lot of research. I come in and I talk to your spaces. I talk to what's going on there. I'm not going to research the location before I come. I usually don't ask for an address or anything until like the day before, just so I can kind of plan my route or how long I'm going to be driving, that kind of thing, or to give you an estimate what my travel charges are going to be. I am not going to do research personally. Maybe after the fact I will, but definitely never before, in case I don't want to know anything. I want to come in with a blank mind. Paranormal teams are going to want to do the research, and they should be doing the research because that's part of why they're a paranormal team. It's really going to depend on how private of a person you are. Do you want multiple people? Do you want to be poked and prodded at, basically your house to be poked and prodded at? Or do you want something more subtle to come in and address things on a deeper level? So the paranormal teams are very like here now, right? There's a lot of technology involved. There's a lot of proving. We're trying to prove things. I'm not going to be, and most mediums are not going to be there to prove things to you. We're there to resolve the things and get answers why those things are doing those things. Not just record it, but like actually have like, whether it's a telepathic or verbal conversation with spirits, and find out, why are you doing this? Where do you want to be? What do you think is going on? Where do you think you are? What's keeping you here? Do you want to stay here? It's just a very different dynamic of work. We're not trying to catch recordings. I'm going to show up with no equipment, period. Like, and a lot of mediums aren't going to, unless they are completely associated with a paranormal team. We're not trying to give you documented evidence. We're just trying to help you and the spirits move on.
I'm going to come back to Chair Bear's question real quick, because Melanie was like, which is better for pets involved versus team versus medium? But I think that might also depend on the pet's personality. If they're very nervous, they don't like new people, especially groups of people. That's where having the one person come in versus a group. And
the equipment's going to be making noise, and there's going to be flashing lights and stuff. So
I think it kind of depends on the personality of the pet and their acceptance of, people coming in. I think that's where you have to make the decision of how comfortable your pet is with somebody coming in. But then Chair Bear had asked, was there ever a job that is beyond your skill set or individual ability where you needed assistance?
Thus far, no. So, sometimes I wonder, sometimes I feel like I got myself in over my head, but I've never really been in over my head to this point, luckily. I've been in some pretty bad situations where a lot of people have gotten hurt before I was there. I do think, like Melissa, we both tend to be naturally protected very well also. So it helps with us doing our work without being affected by things the way other people are. Protection and being able to clear are a very important thing. Being completely in tune with your body is a very important thing. So if an entity or energy or a spirit are trying to physically affect you or change you, that is a benefit with a paranormal team, is that you kind of have somebody watching your back for like, oh, your personality is starting to shift, or this is starting to happen, your face is changing. As an intuitive, you should be able to feel and sense those things yourself anyway. Ideally, you should be able to do that. If not, keep practicing. Doesn't mean you're not going to be able to, just means you need to practice a bit more. I'm just trying to read. I feel like
Chris says the medium can help soothe the pet if they're able to communicate with them. So you know where my veil is, because Chris is, you've seen her. She is our animal communicator that's been on with us a couple times and shared the videos in her barn of the Amish guy who's earthbound, that I so want to hear what he has to say.
People are at Chris's house next time I'm in Ohio.
Like, I want to show up with like a little recorder and be like, let's interview the Amish guy. But not right now because it's cold. I'm not driving out there, Chris. It's
we'll see you in June, Chris.
Share Bears that Melissa comes with an invisible built-in SAS barrier. Pretty much.
I mean, there's a fine line with that though too, where like if you go work with a paranormal team and you're too protected, like I've had teams get upset with me, so is Melissa, because we're too well protected, and then like everything just goes flat. So there's no recorded evidence, and then we leave the room or the building and it's like everything amplifies again. So that's something to take into consideration. somebody like me or Melissa, Heather, Chris, we're coming in and our job is to help you and to help the spirits. And there might be times that you really don't want something to cross over, but if we're being told divinely and by higher spirit they need to be crossed over, we're not going to listen to you. You're not going to get to be our boss. If we're getting told by that spirit or by a deity or something that this needs to happen, we are not going to listen to you. you know, we're there to help. We're there to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't get to say that an earthbound has to keep suffering in what they're experiencing because you want to be able to make money off of having a ghost.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the attention of it. Gonna cross that one over, and I'm sure that because you want to go so bad, at some point something else is going to find its way there, and then you probably won't want it around because that's going to be an earthbound that enjoys messing with people, and you might change your mind real quick.
And you might start to get like, you kind of will become like a buffet or a food source. Your physical energy, your house, it'll start to draw more and more things in over time. And sometimes that happens gradually. Sometimes it happens pretty quickly. And next thing, people have themselves kind of buried in a hole with that kind of stuff. I would say if you're going to put down like two like the biggest differences between a medium and a paranormal team, do you want answers and verification, or do you want results? That's going to be your big thing. Do you want a resolution to wrap up what's happening? So you can also, when working with a medium, you can choose to release what is there, but still allow things to come in. Like if your family, your relatives still want to pop in and visit, you can choose to have things handled that way. So it's not like once we're gone, everything's gone and you're never going to see your aunt or your puppy again or those kind of things. There's a lot of different levels of the work that we can do, but we are always going to look for what needs to be actually done, what's beneficial for you and for the spirits, not just for you, not just for your entertainment. So the big thing is going to be, do you want answers and clarification and like evidence just so you can say I have it, or do you want results and to work with it?
Yeah, Chris, she's like, I went to the House of Wills a few weeks ago and there was nothing. I have high boundaries of protection, so not even a creep factor.
Yeah.
I didn't get
a building. It's a really, really cool place. And I think the homeless people are a little bit more creepy than any spirits there anyway.
I was more creeped out when we went long before they started renovations and fixing the place up and making it safe to walk around, because it definitely wasn't when we were in there. I was more creeped out at all of the old like things from the long dead people, the previous owners, and I'm just like, I would not want to be in this building with all of these items from everybody else before me. I would be mass like spring cleaning constantly, like donating, cleaning out, dumpstering. Like, I don't want that. And then the fact the building was so big and the owner, like if the building was this big, he was living in a spot like that big with the generator, and the rest of the building was pretty much just open and he didn't even know if somebody broke in. And I'm like, that's more creepy to me than any ghosts that are conveniently doing nothing but swearing on an EVP box. Like, dude, yeah, like I'm more worried about the live people breaking in.
Yeah,
having free roam over.
When the cops show up and tell you we're not coming back, don't even order food and don't open the gate for anybody. It's like, okay, because ghosts aren't going to do that to you.
Right. But it is a very, very cool building, cool history. If you didn't catch when we talked about it, I forget how many weeks ago, we put up some pictures. Yeah, how it's progressed. There was a gentleman that came into my store that is part of a crew that is working on it, and he did confirm that they are going to put the cloud room back in as it was before deterioration. And I'm like, that makes me so fucking happy. Like, that room was so cool. So he's like, yeah, we're working on it and we are going to restore the cloud room. And I'm like, I don't care what you do with the rest of the building. Do that. 2
weeks just in Ohio.
Right.
We need 2 weeks. I need to rob a bank so I can go do all the stuff that I need to go do.
So, oh crap, Kayla, you got to get running because you have lunch, a formal thing to go do.
I do. not in comfy clothes today. I'm actually in a dress and fancy shoes today. So,
and I say ew because it's cold outside, and dresses are even more cold in the wintertime. And I'm
yeah,
like,
I have hot flashes.
but we do
But,
plan
yeah.
on being back next week. We actually started a schedule of topics to talk about to make this easier. So if you guys have ideas and topics or things you want to share, send them in like chats, whispers, email, so we can start planning them.
Pictures. We still want pictures and videos.
Yeah, yeah. Let friends know, family friends who are into this as well. Let them know. Have them join
Even if
us.
they're not into it, they have questions about pictures or videos they've captured.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be fun to go over that. It's always nice to have like a little bit of backup information if they do have it, the background information, I should say. But we can still address them even without that.
Yeah, and it's safe. We're not going to ridicule anybody sending anything in. Completely safe, because Kayla also does photography, and Melanie as well. So Melanie sometimes fills in with the camera stuff, and
some things are not as exciting as they look. It's like, nope, that was just the lighting.
yeah, and Kayla and maybe even Melanie will be like, that was lighting, try this next time. So we're not going to ridicule anybody. You hear me typing because I'm putting in Kayla's email into chat for the request that came in. There we go. Why do my cats always go crazy while I'm watching?
Mine usually does too. I don't know. I think he knows we're leaving. I shouldn't say that too loud because I don't know where he is, but he knows we're leaving soon. I have to drop him off at a cat sitter. But I think they feel all of our cat energy. Melissa's like 2/3 cat. We're all cat people. So I think they're just like, hey, we need to move on. It's all the good energy, all the cat loving.
Yeah, we're all cat people.
Cat moms.
Yeah. Mine was in my lap for a little while till he heard the boy come home, and then he was a traitor, jumped down and went to go greet the boy at the door because he's part of the dog at times. Yeah.
You're just there to feed him.
Chair. Oh, Chair's got a kitty cat too. My cat goes crazy when I'm watching because it knows I'm enjoying the show. So a bunch of kitty cats in our group here. I know Chris even has kitty cats, but she also has horses and puppers. So we're all just animal people. But yes. All right, so we're going to hop off. So Kayla's not later than she already is looking at our time. And
what else is new today? This week?
Right. Be like, I was doing important things online.
Oh, I lost you, Melissa.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.